Hi guys, so my name is Nicole and I'm a computer engineering major in the College of Engineering, and today I'll be presenting about Deeper, a mental health mobile application. So why mental health and why choose mental health as a topic of my presentation, or of my project? So mental health has always been a topic that I've been passionate about, and I know that everyone in this room, myself included, has dealt with internal struggles. And so because this topic really encompasses everyone, and because the stigma against mental health is shifting, I really want to be a part of that change and use mental health for my senior design project and my Keystone. So to re-emphasize the scope of how mental health is affecting others, 50% of US students screen positive for depression and or anxiety, and 67% of those students struggle with loneliness and feeling isolated and sad. And this is just especially heightened because of the pandemic. But these two statistics really show how mental health is affecting college students. And in general, 70% of Americans held back their actual feelings after confiding in someone. So this really shows how there is a disconnect between mental health consumers and loved ones, as well as a lack of transparency when talking about mental health. So therefore, I decided to do my own study composed of 42 BU students. And I focused mainly on mental health consumers and their loved ones. And so the majority of the loved ones stated that the methods that they used to support mental health consumers was less than 5 on an effectiveness scale from 1 to 10. And 50% of loved ones do not have a general method of emotionally supporting those with mental health problems. So this indicates how there's a lack of awareness on how to really help those with mental health problems. And on top of that, the methods that are existing right now are really not conducive to helping mental health consumers. And in addition, 43% of those suffering from mental health problems have never used mental health solutions to help or monitor themselves through apps, websites, etc. So this really shows how there's no dominant technological solution that is existing, and that's what we're hoping Deeper can be. So therefore, the problem is that mental health consumers deal with miscommunication and misunderstandings from their loved ones, as it is difficult for both parties to empathize and understand each other's needs, with mental health consumers feeling worried that they might burden the loved one, while the loved one not really knowing how to help or approach the situation. And therefore, our solution to bridge this gap between these two parties is to create Deeper, which is a cross-platform mobile application with a singular user interface that's simple and easy to use. So how was this done? So without going into too much technical jargon, we basically used a technology stack. And so for our front end, or for the user interface portion, we use React Native. For our back end, or for what's retrieving and storing user data, we're using Node.js and PyFlask. For our database, which is storing the user data, we're using MongoDB and Firebase. For our cloud computing service, or for what's hosting our backend database, we're using Azure. And finally, for our machine learning component, which I'll touch on later, but it's basically used to calculate a mental health index, we're using PyTorch. So now, how does our app work and function? So I'll just be going into what the user sees when they first go inside of the app. They see two options. One is signing up and the other is signing in, and just depending on what they click, they'll fill out their credentials. And then next is the onboarding page. So just in case if they are a new user, it's basically explaining the different functionalities of our app, which I'll be going into now. So when we want to tackle the user stories of mental health consumers, we decided to focus on 3 main functionalities. One is a community forum page, which allows users to interact with each other. Another is a journaling system, which allows users to write down their feelings and monitor themselves. And finally is a messaging system, which allows users to interact with specific loved ones. So this is the community feed page. And as you can see, there's a few posts there, and it's kind of similar to Reddit or any other social media platform where you can like or comment on other people's posts. And on the bottom, there's like an add button. So if you click on that, it'll prompt you to another page where you can make a post yourself. Next is the journaling feature, which allows the user to write whatever they want in that big text field. And if they click on the plus button at the bottom, it basically saves the journal entry. And also when they click on it, it calculates a mental health index. So going back into the machine learning aspect of our project, there's basically natural language processing that's happening where, for example, if a user is having a bad day and their journal entry kind of has a strong negative connotation, it'll calculate a lower mental health index. So it's quantifying how they're feeling. And so when users look at their past entries, they can monitor themselves and just see how they're doing on a daily basis. And finally is the inbox page or the messaging system. And basically this allows users to connect with their loved ones. And so if they search up the user in the search bar and then click the add button, it automatically adds a conversation, even though it's not shown in this slide, but that's what it does. And so in terms of future goals for where we see this project going, one is to definitely continue honing the functionalities. So for example, with the messaging system, right now you can only add a one-on-one chat. So what we hope to do is to implement like group chats so that you could talk with multiple loved ones at once. In addition, I think it would be really cool to create a business model because I know that BU right now has a partnership with Headspace. So it's allowing allowing students to use Headspace and making it more accessible to them. And I feel like our app also acts similarly. So that would be really awesome. And finally is to deploy deeper into app stores to become accessible. And that's probably happening in the next week for ECE Day, which is like the senior design day for the symposium. Okay, I'm wording that wrong, but you get what I mean. But yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for listening. And I just wanted to give a huge shout out to my team who's been working so hard on this alongside me, Professor Osama, who's both my advisor and my client, and the entire KHC community for supporting me throughout this project and through my academic journey. Any questions?
I really love your idea and your presentation. And I was just wondering, I know, for example, a lot of issues with mental health also come with a lack of motivation. So I was wondering if maybe you would try to add a functionality to maybe gamify the idea of journaling or increasing your mental health index. Duolingo has the daily score or something like that. So I think I'm just wondering if you would have thought about that maybe for the future.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think one of the biggest things that we're trying to understand is how to incentivize this app, because I feel like, at least for me, I've tried journaling before and it's really hard to stay on it and do it daily. So what we're hoping to do is adding push notifications just so that the user is reminded every day, as well as maybe creating a point system where basically if you write a journal, then you can add a point and then somehow you can use those points within the app. Not sure yet on how to do that, but great idea, and thank you so much for your question.
I really like your presentation, and I think your design of the app is really good. I'm just
you.
wondering, on the tech stack page, you listed both Node.js and Flask on the backend, and I'm just wondering if the architecture of the backend is consisting of microservices, or is it a monolithic server?
It's comprised of microservices, and it's we ideally wanted to make the backend just one of them, but it kind of just ended up diverging into both of them. So also another future goal would definitely to kind of centralize it into one, the Node.js or PyFlask.
If I may ask a follow-up question, what are you using for each one of them? I mean, what features are you implementing with each one?
Mm-hmm. Honestly, it's kind of hard to say. So With Node.js, though, we're basically employing that with Firebase, and then like MongoDB is connected to PyFlask. But like in terms of the different functionalities, because my team worked on all separate ones, it's kind of hard to like pinpoint each one. But at least for me, Node.js and Firebase was used for sign in and sign up, as well as for the journaling functionality. And I'm assuming the others were for PyFlask.
Yeah, so I was wondering, for like how do you categorize the words, like what specific what you specifically use, like for example like term frequency finder or something, as well as yeah, I forgot the second part of my question, but yeah.
No, I totally get what you mean. So there was actually a library that Professor Osama gave us. So it already kind of calculates everything. So I can't really give you like a specific answer to that, but it's definitely like looking at each word, and then based off of that, it kind of gives each word a score, and then it averages it out, if that makes sense.
Can you talk about other applications or services that might be able to get integrated into this? Is there some way that you might see this be able to track how somebody's mental health is changing over time? And anything else you might see in the future?
Yeah, like if we had more time, it would definitely be awesome to like, I don't remember what app this is called, but there's basically an app that like shows a graph, and you could kind of filter out like daily, weekly, etc. of like kind of seeing how you feel every day. So that would be really awesome. Another thing that we could integrate is like, for example, Headspace. So partnering with Headspace so that it like connects that API to this app, just so that our app provides more value.
Can I ask a question about quality control?
Yeah, of course.
Especially in terms of the more interactive dimensions of the app, the community forum, and maybe some of the messaging. So I wonder how you deal with, I'm thinking back to Sam's, like where are the nefarious people who are going to jam, right? In this case, you showed early on the dramatic increase in mental health issues, anxiety, in particular depression and anxiety, among especially a generation that has, a lot of times it's been cited, that a lot of those issues derive from social media. Of course, social media is a very diverse field. So how do you think, and a lot of that has to do with the interactivity and what's going on in there. How do you avoid that? And how do you think about this in terms of still maintaining it as a safe space?
No, of course. And that's something that we definitely had to consider, especially because our users are mental health consumers. But for example, with the community forum, we integrated something called Site Engine API, which basically automatically filters out posts. So if it has like a really weird image attached to it, or if it's like containing like certain like very negatively charged words, it won't be posted.
Thank you very much.